AM 650 KGAB, Cheyenne's #1 news talk radio station. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, this is Rally for the Choice to Work calling in.
Well, thank you very much. Now, you folks, we'll cut right to the chase. You folks are rallying Monday at the State Capitol building. Is that right?
That's correct, at high noon. That is right.
And what all's going on?
We're inviting people to come and with their presence show that they believe in and support their right to choose to go to work, as well as the right to choose not to go to work.
So
it's a choice that we get to make, yeah.
So basically what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that it should be left up to the individual citizens rather than government restrictions. Is that sort of what you're saying?
That's precisely what I'm saying. And so far as our Constitution, the Wyoming State Constitution, we got Section 7 says absolutely no arbitrary power over the lives, liberty, and property. And business owners, that's their property. That's our property. And the government has no absolute arbitrary power over the property of freemen. It doesn't exist in the Republic, not even in the largest majority. And so we have a right to choose. You know, if people choose not to work, fine. If they choose to work, then let's let them. I've got a 17-year-old who, doggone it, is just champing at the bit. She did a good job of saving for a rainy day, but by golly, those savings are about used up. And you know what? She owns a car, and those tags need to be renewed every darn year. So that's coming up, and she has interviewed, and they're ready to hire her for a new position. But that choice to go to work is not just for the employees, it's also for the business owners to choose to open up. So that's what we're rallying for, is the choice to work.
So let me clarify here. Are you asking the governor to lift the restrictions that are in place right now? Are you asking that they be lifted May 1st, or are you asking people just to disregard the restrictions and proceed with life as they choose to do?
You know, I think that the damage to our economy, the state and society, it's worse than disease. And I've crunched numbers from the health department's own public data that's available. And there's a difference between disease symptom progression in an individual, right?
Right.
Disease symptom in an individual and disease progression through a population. Very much a difference. So I'm not comparing the disease symptoms when I crunch these numbers, the disease symptoms of influenza and the COVID virus. Rather, I compared the data, the epidemiological data of the influenzas with COVID. And the numbers just don't add up.
How so?
Well, let's see. Where's my tally here? From 2018-2019 influenza season for week 7 through 16, there were a total of 6,491 influenza lab confirmed cases in the year 2017-2018. And this, again, is the public data from the Wyoming Department of Health, week 7 through 16. And the reason I'm saying week 7 through 16 is because week 7 is the first week where there was an identified COVID case from onset of symptoms, February 11th. And again, this is from Wyoming Department's own webpage about COVID. So in 2017-2018, the influenza totals for the same period of time was 3,186. And in the same period of time, lab-confirmed cases of COVID are, I think the last time I looked last night, was 305 in the whole state of Wyoming. In the whole state of Wyoming. And I've got some graphs. I've shared them with the governor's office. I shared them with Senator Enzia's office, Barrasa's office, Representative Cheney's office. I've shared them, they're available online at our Facebook events. Bar graph and line graph that uses, again, the Wyoming Department of Health's own data. And, it was, I've been talking with several of the people at the Wyoming Department of Health, and the resources were diverted to the COVID response, which makes a lot of sense because there was a great deal of uncertainty in the beginning. And resources for the data entry person who was responsible for entering the weekly numbers of influenzas from around the state stopped in the week 9. So we're in week 16. We haven't had any data entry for weekly influenzas from around the state for, let's see, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, for 6 or 7 weeks now. So it's difficult to compare the flu season data for this year, but we can look at the trends for the last, well, actually 6 years from the data that's available at the Wyoming Department of Health. So what I'm saying is, be not afraid. You have a right to choose. And I'm not going to make you choose. I'll let each individual choose, whether it's the worker, the employer, or the governor. We have a right to choose to work. That's what it's about.
So do you think Go ahead.
I'm sorry. What?
Go ahead.
It's a peaceable assembly. And again, Section 21 from our Constitution, Wyoming Constitution, says that peaceable assembly to consult for the common good and to make known their opinions shall never be denied or abridged. And that's even more firmly stated in our own Wyoming state constitution than it is in our First Amendment from the national constitution. This freedom to peaceably assemble shall never be denied or abridged. And that's what I'm going by, to let people know they've got a choice and that the government, in writing, protects that.
Looks like we have a caller. Let me, caller, you're on the... Okay, again, I'm speaking with a representative of the Wyoming Choice to Work rally. I believe I'm speaking with Kathy Ide. Do I have that right?
No, you're mistaken.
Is it Susan Graham?
That is me, yes. My name is Susan Graham.
Okay. Now, Susan, what as far as the event itself, are you going to have speakers? Are you going to, sing songs? What else is going to happen at the event itself?
Well, Doug, basically we're going to gather peaceably. There are going to be signs available. People can bring their own signs. But it's to gather as a voice, each individual voice, indicating to Governor Gordon that this is a voice that also votes. And these people are voting with their feet to show they choose to work. So it's very grassroots. There's no speakers, just people with their own individual voices coming to show up.
Have you spoken to the governor or the governor's office about this issue in general?
You know, I have tried so much, and I have to tell you, the people at the governor's office that I've spoken to, I think it's been 3 or 4 different people now, they're so very nice and they're so very considerate. And in order to be able to get the governor's eyes on this bar graph and this line graph of the influenza versus the COVID data that I crunched, it was so urgent on my heart on Monday the 13th that I got in touch with one of the people and I said, thank you for listening to me. This urgency is keen. How can we get the governor's eyes on these pictures? They're such a visual representation of the certainty that we have now versus the uncertainty that we started with, that certainty that we have now. And thank goodness this woman gave me her personal email address to the governor, and I was able to, attach to her an email to her so that she could have those pictures, on her phone, and actually, if she was able to visit with the governor, show those pictures to him. Now, I don't know if he got to see them. The one official who did get back to me about these emails was Representative Cheney. I really appreciate that she got back to me. Nonetheless, sometimes feel like a voice crying in the wilderness, and maybe lots of voices coming on the 20th at noon at the Capitol steps. Lots of voices crying in the wilderness make a louder sound.
What was
and that's what we're looking for.
If you can tell us, what was Representative Cheney's response? Was she sympathetic or not sympathetic, or did she give you any indication how she felt, or what was her response?
I could pull up the email and read it to you. Basically, I would say the tenor is we're doing the best we can. We're doing the best we can. Thank you for helping. Yeah. So there you go. So I don't know. She didn't respond specifically to the pictures that I sent, so I'm not sure that I can speak for her, except to say she was very grateful for the effort that we as Wyoming citizens have been making. And yeah, she was grateful for the effort.
Okay, I'm speaking with Susan Graham about the Choice to Work rally coming up at noon on Monday at the State Capitol building. And as I'm sure you know, there have been rallies in other states, some very publicized rallies in Michigan this week. Are you working with any of those people in other states, or is this strictly a Wyoming effort?
No, this is just some people who are ready to go to work here in Wyoming.
Now, another question I had based on your comments on the flu: do you feel the COVID-19 is being overhyped by the media? Do you think the danger is being exaggerated?
I heard a phrase: the danger of the disease symptoms, and this is so important to delineate, to differentiate. I do not speak to the disease symptoms. High-risk people are high risk, and please, I hope and I would encourage them to use their choice to use common sense and stay away from other people. There was a phrase that I heard, I think yesterday, the day before, coronaphobia. Coronaphobia is what seems to be driving policies. And it's the fear of uncertainty. And again, in the beginning, we were uncertain. We didn't know for a very number of reasons. But now we have data. We know that, like the numbers I crunched, yes, individual symptoms for high risk, oh, yes, that's dangerous. But for the people who want to operate their choice to meet the possible risk, that should be open to them.
So how much of a risk do you think we do face here in Wyoming? Do you think it's being exaggerated as far as the overall risk?
For individuals, I think we need to be able to make our own choice. The air that God gave us to breathe, that air is clean, that air is free. So we should be free to protect ourselves from it by wearing a mask if we choose, or not if we don't choose. So all I can say is I see the data compared to the influenza epidemiological curves. You know, I was watching President's Task Force when Dr. Birx brought out the charts, the curves, and she had a shaded area. She was talking about a shaded area. And the shaded area, when people who crunch data, my background is in chemistry. I work with physical chemists, analytical chemists, biochemists. I did a lot of data crunching and graph making, right? So going back to Dr. Birx, she talked about this confidence level. It's the shaded area, the plus or minus. Well, plain folks would not call that confidence. Plain folks know that's like gambling. That's your uncertainty range, your range of uncertainty. Well, the range of uncertainty has narrowed now. And I see the curves here in Wyoming itself. And people who see these curves can base their choice to stay home or their choice to go to work on data that's rolled out now, specifically for Wyoming, but if they want to look in the United States or in the world at large. That's what I see.
Do you have a website up where people can go look this stuff up or anything like that?
Well, we do have our event page. They can go to Facebook. It's called Rally for the Choice to Work. And in one of the posts, I do have the graphs posted. They can click on the graphs individually. They're kind of blurry. I'm not real technological savvy, but there's enough there to be able to see. Yep.
Okay, I'm speaking with Susan Graham about the Wyoming Choice to Work rally. This is scheduled for Monday at the Capitol. Do you guys have further rallies planned around the state or another rally in Cheyenne, or is this a one-shot deal, or do we know, or what's the status on that?
Well, as far as I know right now, for me, the one I'm involved in at this time is just here. I do hear rumblings from other groups. They're encouraging. It's not just this grassroots efforts, but there are several grassroots efforts I've heard rumors of. I don't know specifics. I had heard that there is something probably in not Cheyenne. This is Cheyenne. Casper on Friday the 24th at noon at Pioneer Park. I'm that one I do know about, and that one is set. That's Friday in Casper at 12 noon at Pioneer Park, which is the same place where there was a previous rally on April the 9th. So that's what I know about.
And were you folks involved with the previous rally in Casper, or was that a separate effort?
I happened to be able to go to Casper. I had lived quite a while in Casper, so I was familiar with several of the people who attended that rally there.
Were you there then, or?
Yes, I was there. I was carrying a sign.
Okay, I'm speaking with Susan Graham of Cheyenne. We're talking about the Wyoming Choice to Work rally that's coming up Monday at noon at the State Capitol building. And Susan will be on with us here for just a few more minutes. I guess if you have any questions or comments, you could give us a call, 632-3323. That line is open. And again, the event is 12 noon on Monday. Susan, how did this come about? Were you and your friends just sitting around thinking about it, or did somebody propose this, or is it just something that a bunch of people came up with at once, or what happened?
I don't know about you, but I am a firm believer in divine providence. In fact, I would go so far to say is in our household, we don't necessarily believe in miracles, but we rely on miracles. And I think it was just a meeting of minds, especially, like I said, on the 13th, when I had graphed out this data for myself, and I saw the picture, and I thought, man, if people could see this picture, and that's why I was trying to urge the Wyoming Department of Health, if they would please start posting this, the data of the influenza concurrent with the COVID, it would just be such a relief to so many people. In fact, when I spoke with the Department of Health on the 9th of April, one of the gals there said that the person running the COVID data page wasn't available because they had been diverted to start tracking. This is so tragic to me, the spiked increase in mental health calls, because, and this was the person that people were calling because they were seeing no end to the COVID issue. They were sad. They were calling the mental health line. And so I guess I had a rise in urgency, and as I was, going to Casper to attend that rally, there was enough interest garnered from that rally that the idea came from Kathy Ide and myself talking, how about if we do something in Cheyenne? And that's how that happened.
Are you guys going to be encouraging people to practice social distancing at the rally, stand 6 feet apart and that sort of thing?
I think that I will encourage people to operate their choice with their good common sense about their own individual risks or lack of risks.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's where I stand, is people have choice. And, the government can't do anything I myself can't do. I can't make my neighbors stay at home, can I? I can't go to my neighbor's house and say, you stay at home, because it's for your own good, or because there's a risk and I want you to be safe. I can't do that. So anything I can do to my neighbor, the government can do to my neighbor or me. So insofar as social distancing, I trust people to be adults and use common sense and know what their own risks or non-risks are.
Okay, I'm speaking with Susan Graham of Cheyenne. She's talking about the Wyoming Choice to Work rally coming up Monday at noon at the Capitol. Susan, we're down to 60 seconds left. Any last thoughts for our listeners or anything you'd like to emphasize that maybe you already mentioned but people are just tuning in to hear?
Sure, I would say quarantine means restricting the movement of sick people. Tyranny means restricting the movement of healthy people. So we need to use our choice to act on either our sickness or our own individual health.
Okay.
And thank you very much for your time.
I appreciate you calling in this morning. Thank you very much. And again, that event Monday at noon at the Wyoming Capitol building, a peaceful gathering to encourage, I guess, people to make up their own minds about COVID-19 precautions. So,
no, make up their minds about working or not working.
Okay.
Mainly business owners, because employees can't just go to the business without the owners opening it up.
Okay. Thanks,
Thank you.
Susan. Talk to you later.